What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie released by A24 that was in theaters not that long ago. And I'll be quite honest, I wanted to check this out for one reason, and that's because it's co-directed by Alex Garland, who is a director that has made several movies that I've really enjoyed. But I was hesitant to go watch this movie because I'll just be outright with it. I cannot stand movies about the American military industrial complex and about war in general because I don't. There can be movies that can be very informative and eye-opening about the horrors of war and a lot of nuances when it comes to kind of dissecting a country's decision and the ramifications on the people there and the ramifications on the people who are being harmed by that military. I think there can be movies that exist in that format, but my issue with movies specifically about the American military industrial complex is I feel like most of them feel like they have a very intense bias. It's very hard for it not to feel like propaganda. I always go back to talking about the original Top Gun and how there were literally recruitment stations set up in movie theaters when the original Top Gun was released. And the new Top Gun Maverick, there were literally like deals for weaponry and aircrafts that went through because of the existence of that film. And there's something about that that just doesn't feel right to me. Like, movies can be educational, movies can like open your eyes up to things, but they are also a form of entertainment. And when a form of entertainment is masked by like, government propaganda, it doesn't feel any different to me than those movies that Kim Jong-un puts out in North Korea, like very much propaganda fueled. Just really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But I wanted to see this anyway because, like I said, I really like Alex Garland, and the movie I'm going to be telling you about today is Warfare. Warfare is directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. A platoon of American Navy SEALs on a surveillance mission gone wrong in insurgent territory. A boots-on-the-ground story of modern warfare and brotherhood told in real time and based on the memory of the people who lived it. So, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of movies about the American military industrial complex, but I really like Alex Garland, which is why I wanted to watch this movie. And I despised this movie. And the reason for that is it is beautifully shot, has the best sound design in a movie this year, just absolutely incredible sound design. I was completely blown away by it, but it feels like a propaganda piece. And a lot of people are going to come right at me and say, "Oh, Nate, the soldier that is involved in this came out and said it's just a retelling of events." And I'm sorry, I don't see that, especially with how the film plays out. The kind of like footage that's rolled at the end of the movie showcasing the real life soldiers. It feels like it's trying to portray these individuals as heroes. And what I can tell you wholeheartedly is the Iraq War was one of the most evil things that the United States military has ever been involved in. The number of innocent lives that were taken in the Middle East by people that are literally just living at their household, all for the sake of war and for eventually oil, and the amount of benefits that the United States received when it comes to crude oil and oil that was acquired from the Middle East. It's just incredibly disheartening when you watch a movie like this because the question that I ask when a film exists is why? Why are you making this movie? So sure, you can come at me and say this is a person who, survived these events and they want to retell it on screen. And it's very much that. This movie, without giving a big plot description, you're literally dropped in. It's this group of soldiers, and you're watching their experience. There's not really much else to it. The dialogue is incredibly minimal, other than some banter back and forth. And it's just situations where people get in danger. And it's a very action packed, suspenseful hour and 20 minutes. But the problem is, and this is where my issues lie. Like I said, why? You're so intent on telling these stories. I feel like documentary format would be the best way to do it because instead of just showcasing horrific violence over and over again, thinking about the ramifications of the human beings who are living in that area that have nothing to do with the people that you're going after, that their lives were taken or their homes were overthrown and destroyed because of the actions of your government, it's very difficult for me to understand why you want to showcase that because it's simply just atrocity. There's nothing else to it. And at the beginning of the movie, they open with like these guys watching like a workout video, and they're just like, cheering and celebrating. And then it essentially just gets down to details. And there's not a lot of characterization. They're just like guys that are dropped into this situation. We learn little bits and pieces of detail. But the problem is, you're focusing solely and completely on the American soldiers that are there, and they try to throw in a couple of things with the translators and some of the families that like their houses are overtaken. The problem is with a movie like this is, sure, you can showcase that experience to people, but why would you want to? The As I said before, I implore you to watch documentaries and read about the Iraq War. And someone who was very young when the Iraq War was going on, I was like 10, 11 years old when this started. It's something that I have researched over the years and read a lot about, and it was a terrible time in the world's history. It very much was. The amount of innocent lives that are taken in the Middle East because the United States wanted to invade, and like I said, got a ton of benefits when it comes to oil and natural resources because of doing that. And whether you want to believe that's the sole purpose of why the military did that, think what you want. And what I will say too, there are a lot of really amazing people that join the military. There are a lot of really incredible people who that is the decision that they want to make with their lives. And so this isn't a scrutiny of people's decision to be in the military by any means, but the American military has been the proponent of some of the most evil acts in history, and innocent lives being taken, innocent children's lives being taken, hospitals being bombed in the Middle East, people being murdered for no reason whatsoever. And I just don't understand what this movie is trying to say outside of just this is an experience that someone had and they're trying to reflect on it. But what are you as an audience member supposed to obtain from that other than, well, they wanted to tell this story so much because they're the heroes of the situation, correct? Because there is no other way around it. You went, you did this thing, you came back. There's the end of this movie has like this entire montage of like all of the people that were involved in the real life soldiers. But what I also found really interesting is a lot of the soldiers' faces were blurred at the end of the movie, which makes me think they even want this to be made. Did they even have any idea what was going on, or did they even agree with this being made? Which I thought was really fascinating. And to talk about, Alex Garland, he's a very interesting creator. He started out in science fiction, made a lot of really amazing science fiction films that I love quite dearly. Then he made Men, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I didn't think it was horrible, but he just made Civil War, and that movie was incredibly polarizing, but it was a film that I loved a lot. It's set in a fantasy world, so it's not real, but it implores some very interesting questions, especially in regards to journalism, people that are witnessing horrible atrocities. And I think the movie had a lot of very interesting things to say, and I really enjoyed that. But this movie in particular, I'm just asking myself, what are you trying to say other than this is a person's lived experience? Like, there's nothing else in this for me other than that. Like, you're showing their lived experience, which, like, I don't know what you want the audience to take away from this other than look at these heroes that went over there and fought the good fight, when in turn, it's like I said before, there were no heroes in the Iraq War. There were a lot of people that died for no reason, unfortunately. And it's very saddening to me. And it's very much like I said, I'm very critical of the Top Gun movies. I've been very critical of a lot of films about war. And I think there can be a time and a place for movies about war. When you think about a film like Come and See, I think that's one of the most impactful, beautiful films ever made, and one of the most harrowing, disturbing films ever made for good reason. It's trying to critique something and pick it apart and really sort of showcase the struggles of these people who had to live through this horrible event. And you're seeing the struggles of the people who lived through it. Same thing with movies about the Holocaust. When you're watching movies about World War II and about the Holocaust, we are constantly seeing what happened to these people and the experiences of these people who are impacted by the atrocities of the war. Sure, you can say American soldiers struggled by fighting in these different battles, but what was the existence of this war for? So at the end of the day, what is the audience going to learn from this? I think not a lot. And I think The enjoyment of this is all going to depend on what is your reasoning for wanting to watch this? What is your reasoning for trying to consume this content? Does it have some really compelling action sequences? Sure. Does it have really phenomenal sound design? Absolutely. But to me, I need something more from a movie. I don't just want a film to feel like it's been propaganda thrown at me for an hour and 20 minutes. And I don't care. You can come at me and say, but the guy who created this said it's just our experience. It's not. It would not exist otherwise. There's no other reason for this to exist other than to try to pull sympathy for the American soldiers there. And there's some scenes in this that might try to shift people's perspective otherwise, but they don't linger long enough to leave a lasting impression. And I just didn't like this at all. It's definitely not my kind of movie. And I think if you're interested in it, sure, by all means, you can check it out. But if you're like me, you're not a fan of movies like this, you're not going to find anything to appreciate with it. So have you seen Warfare? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I was not a fan of this movie at all, and I will probably never watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.